Hello. My name is Goran Mekic, or Meka for short, and you're watching the Tilda podcast on web development. The idea behind this project called Freenit is Freenit framework is to have the most rapid web development I know of. And when you're starting with an idea, a visual idea, uh, if you know some CSS or as much as you can, this is a really great tool to get you started on. Maybe you can draw it on paper first, or e-paper or whatever. Uh, but then, wow, we already have some design here. Uh, okay, let's start from scratch. I'm gonna show you everything. So let's start with an empty page. Um, a designer is a tool to do stuff like this. That's the shortest description. So drag and drop your components, and they look somehow, and you can select them when there's a red um, border around them. They are selected, and let's see. Okay, you can see a kind of rectangle around the title when I hover it. So yeah, everything has some border to tell you you're above it. Uh, so you can basically click on elements. You can edit the text inside them. So let's say we're creating something like this. Uh, And for more advanced, uh, let's say, search view of your design, there's a tree. The tree gives you exact list or, well, tree of components that are used, and you don't have to use only Material UI components. You can use plain HTML elements. Uh, every component or an element has props and text. Text is empty by default. So let's say we want to add style. If I want to add style, which is an object, I tell it that this is how you create an object. Object means that it can have more properties in it. So let's say I want height to be 100. I need a number, and I say okay. So just to be sure, let's say background color to be, I don't know, blue. Blue. So we know that this is the div. Uh, let's add it to this drag and drop. Uh, so let me just zoom a little bit. Uh, all right. So you can see the type of component, or the components are with capital letter, and HTML elements are with non-capital. Uh, and I'm gonna call them components altogether because they're practically the same. You're gonna behave with them in the same way and treat them as such. And you can see that below that is some gibberish text that is actually an ID. So idea behind this is that uh, the designer itself doesn't need IDs to display stuff. but it needs to interact with the user. When you do drag and drop, like let's say you want inside this div another one. Um, what is going on here is that under the hood, I have to tell it, hey, take this ID and generate another div inside of it. So the designer itself doesn't need the IDs. We need to communicate with it. Also a neat thing that I found out is that if I send you the design uh, and uh, you open it and you have same IDs, I can tell you, search for the div with this ID, and then this is where I I don't know, hidden some trick, or this is the change, or pay special attention to it. Maybe you haven't seen it, and blah blah blah. Anyway, you can tell someone which exact uh, rectangle to look at if you want them to pay special attention. Of course, you can save your design like this. I'm not gonna save it right now, but you can see that there's a JSON. It's trying to save it as a design.json, and you can load other designs. And designer comes with three really simple designs. One is for the list of your albums in the gallery, and it's not even complete page because uh, I figured that when you're creating a gallery, it's really cool if you create it so that the rest of the page is not there and you can reuse it in a project, in right different projects. So there is one page landing that is almost done, right? This is something I've done for a customer of mine, and we are preparing a new website for the Tilda Center, and part of that website is let's call it a dashboard. Uh, you don't have to be admin, but maybe you have an account and there's webmail, there's going to be chat, there's going to be some blog events, calendar, blah, blah, blah. All that needs to be uh, edited in the dashboard of some kind. And one of the first pages is for the uh, webmail, which looks like this. Now, you're going to say that this is kind of narrow view, and to actually see how the page should look like, uh, this is probably the view you're going to use to say, okay, let me see as close to production as possible while it's in design. Now, uh, there are okay. Let me just show you something before we. All right, before we continue. So let's just formally name some stuff. Uh, this is the component pane. This is view, and this is the editor. I call it the editor because you added props, and I can show you later how to edit this tree a little bit, rearrange it, and so on. And you added the theme, which has a palette. One of the things is inside a theming engine is a palette, which is really, really nice. So let's say I'm not going to start with another design. let's say I just saved uh, this yesterday and I'm continuing my work on it. So uh, if you don't have any pictures, this is really cool to be saved in a Git or uh, sent via email, or it's really small. It's I think few kilobytes or something. So it's really easy to exchange when there are pictures. Of course, pictures are big, uh, so that's gonna grow. And one of my advices for example, when you're designing a gallery, you probably need a lot of pictures. And when you're doing that, it's probably better that your pictures, if possible, are somewhere on the internet already or available to you at least. So you can use only URL to them and not embed them into the design and make it huge. Now, depends on what you're designing. Uh, that trick, let's say, with uh, pictures is needed or not. Otherwise, your design page is ridiculously huge, like 100 megabytes, which you may want or not. Anyway, the you can see that you can hover anything and it's gonna respond somehow. Now you can see it sometimes it's going to go off because it'll look funny. Because if you actually look when I hover this John Doe, there are multiple borders being added this, to this, then this one, then all parents of this, all how it's called, yeah, well, parents of hovered element are also gonna have the border, so you can tell where you are. Now, one feature that is frequently asked, and it's on top of my to-do list, is how about when I select this, where is it here? You're gonna lose some time to find it actually. And how you actually do it is you narrow down the search, which is tiresome. So I kind of know this design because I made it. So I know it's here. But you can see it's tedious to find it in a tree if you want some more precise operations. Because, for example, the height of this can be zero because you just added a div. Oh, okay, let me demonstrate that. So you add a div here. You can see it now because it's selected, but it's a zero height, and I cannot drop onto it, or at least I have to be really, really precise, right? You see that it's green right now, but that's tiresome because here it is, and I can do this more easily. So I have two divs, one inside another. Uh, so if you want an operation that is more precise, it's probably you're gonna do it in a tree, not in a view, in a render. Let's say we don't need this anymore. And what you're gonna see is that no matter what I do, uh, the added element is always at the bottom. What I mean is that okay, if I'm dragging this div, that's a drag source. That's the name. And I'm if I'm dragging it, dropping it on this component, that component is called the drop target. Now the drop target is gonna be notified that hey, there's one more element I want you to have, and display. Let's say its style has height, which is, I don't know, 30. All right. How do actually let me display it. Background color gray. How about this? All right. Um, so it's hard to, if you drag it around, you're gonna see that you can only put it into some other component. You cannot put it at the start of this, right? Or you can drag it into nothing. Uh, but what if I wanna make this element here or here, however? Uh, what should I do? And in a tree, these are the list items that represent these uh, senders because it's a webmail. So for now, I'm not gonna need this. And Freenit Designer has two modes. Um, you can kind of see I'm a Vim user because I use modes. And there is normal mode, which is what you just seen. That whenever there's a drag source dropped onto the drop target, that drop target is gonna put it at the bottom, or it's going to be last if you're sorting displaying it in a different direction. Then it's going to be the last child of that uh, drop target. And I want this up. So I'm gonna turn on rearrange and just let me try it. All right. So I'm gonna turn on rearrange. I'm gonna tell you what I just did. I just realized something works better than I expected. Uh, and let's say this is the list. I mean, it is. And I want this to go above this whole list. Then what I'm going to do in a rearrange mode is I'm gonna drop it onto that list. And in rearrange mode, that means take this element or component, uh, drop it onto this other component, but don't make it its child, but put it above. Or I don't know if list accepts div, but yeah, you can even do this. So the difference is in rearrange mode to the normal mode is how the drag and drop action is going to be interpreted. In a normal mode, if I put div into this list item, it's going to be contained in this list item. In rearrange mode, if I put it on top of some list item, that means put it above in this tree, above the drag the drop target I just used. Okay, so that's the only difference, because when I turn off rearrange and drop it here, it's going to be, I guess, right here it is. And that's how you edit the the position of elements inside your design. So I want to show. I want to tell you about how to call it. It's a shortcut. Uh, I don't know how to do it sensibly in Chromium. If I ever find a way to handle its keyboard events while dragging properly, I will. Uh, by then, Firefox proves to be better because one thing works. Um, this rearrange now you cannot see, of course, but actually maybe you can. Let me see. Now I'm pressing Shift here. Oh no, wait. When I press Shift, the rearrange is on, and when I release Shift, the rearrange is off. So you don't have to reach for a button. Whenever you use Shift, then it should turn on the rearrange mode. And all right. Uh, so that's basically how you position elements inside other elements and how you sort them and make the order for yourself, right? So let's say we probably don't need this anymore. All right. Now let's just check out what what you get. Uh, what you get inside the example inside the JSON. So there is a Freenit framework on GitHub. Check it out. We're going to use it throughout this course for design, front end, and back end. And it's not the holy grail, but I automated some steps with it, so we're going to use it on the course. Um, what I wanted to show you is how webmail looks like. And let's say it's raw. Damn it. All right. So the first component is app bar, and that's this. And if you look at it inside the div, the first component is app bar. So there's up bar, toolbar, and div, right? And you're not going to see that here. Why? Because up bar and toolbar are here, but somewhere beneath this, right, there's a proper component for what we're looking for. All right. So this is how um, the design looks when saved into when it is saved into a file and it uses JSON. The export saves uh, is gonna save a page.js if it can, and that page.js is gonna have uh, all the React code you need to put the page on some URL. That page is actually not Freenit specific, so you can even use it in other frameworks, but because of the Material UI, you gotta use it, right? Or maybe use only the HTML elements, and then it's universal. Anyway, yeah, then this is the format that is used in while saving. Export is not going to be perfect, and it's going to stay like that. What I mean by that is that uh, I I used one thing as like a guideline. Uh, when I save or export, everything has to be in a single file, and to do that, uh, all your styles and theme editing and elements and components are inside one file. So it's definitely from a developer perspective not looking good. So you can put it on a page uh, and like a demo server and check it out. But you need for a final page, you need some uh, editing, and you're probably going to put the styles into one file, images into one folder, and whatnot. Uh, but for the sake of having everything in a single file, that's the only not so beautiful thing about the export. Other than that, the code is well, I rarely change it. I think only if I need some function, as in JavaScript function, uh, which designer does not support, then I need to do something while in the front end development and not in designer. Uh, so let me just give you a real quick idea. What does? Oh no. Let's say we don't know how to do this. When I say Material UI, I mean material-ui.com. And when you get started, you have. No, this is cool, but a few days ago there was a search here somewhere. Wow. Okay. Um, there are components. What is going on here? Wow. I guess we have luck to see MaterialUI.com not actually working. Okay, so I know, kind of know this from um, previous experience. It's not gonna last. They're really good with what they do, and they are doing web development. So just give them a few hours, and they will probably fix it. It's just bad luck that we're also streaming at the same time. Um, so okay, let's say let me just quickly check something. Um, okay, how about uh, I rip some of my design and I'm gonna show you why I'm doing it like this. Okay, so this object here is what we are going to create in a designer. So it kind of resembles uh, this. And when I say this, this is a website that we did for B-sides this year that unfortunately never happened. But I know I have a theme editing there, and this is primary color for the upper bar. You can see that it's different here. And this is secondary color. Ah, no, wait. This is secondary color. This is a button, so I was redirected. And if I say here, okay, let me show you what I mean by primary, secondary. If I have a button that has something as a text, and I say that variant of that button is contained. I hope I'm spelling it right. Okay, I can say color is either primary and it's going to be the same color as this, right? Or I can say or I can say secondary, and it's going to use a different color set for hovering, for displaying, and so on. So you can see that it's darker when I go, hover it, and in primary it does the same. So it's always in a set, but luckily you only have to set one color for the theme. And let's say you want to change both of these colors, and you're going to do exactly this. You're going to create a primary and secondary, and they are going to have a main color, and then Material UI is going to calculate the colors for hover when it needs to be darker or something similar. So let's see. What did I say? I need primary and secondary. So primary needs to have more values, and main needs to be inside it. All right. You can see that it changed automatically. Let me actually have this copy, right? And if I delete it, it's back to normal. If I no, if I paste the new value, it's gonna go back to green. But I didn't change this secondary. So this is not the greatest combination of all. And for secondary, right. Now, if there's something wrong with the team and secondary not having main is definitely wrong, it's going to use default one. So if you see default one and you have a team, then something is wrong. Uh, of course, there are better ways to say to the user to, of your product that there's something wrong, but the designer was actually created in 4 weeks, so this is really early. Um, this is not yet stable enough to call it production, but it shows really great potential. Even now, there are some bugs. You're gonna lose some elements, so please save often. Uh, and I know how to improve it. I just need time, and hopefully I will get another 4 weeks of free time to get to it. Right. So this is how you use um, the theme throughout your Material UI components. So I think that Material UI has something to offer, even if you're not the most uh, thrilled about its default look. It's really editable, and this theme can contain for the backend other stuff like height of elements and so on that the designer doesn't support yet. Uh, it's really important to be able to say, let's just imagine that you need all the buttons on your on every page that are for a similar purpose, that you need same color, height, width, and text, and you can put it in a theme and it's going to be propagated to every component is going to have access to it, but only some of the components, the right button is going to use it. So there is still it's a early and work in progress, but I think it's a really great product even in this shape, and it accelerates my work on the design. And yeah, one of the things I wanted to avoid is that, well, designer as a person starting the design of the page, visual look, is starting that page from scratch, and then I should, as a developer, start the same page from scratch that looks like his. That's not the best way to use our time and resources. So I wanted to create a drag and drop designer that is going to uh, ask you to learn CSS so you can edit styles. Uh, and if that's acceptable to you as a designer, it can provide the developer with code that looks exactly like this page, and he can just move on with the development itself. It's pixel perfect and so on. So there is no miscommunication between people. Everything is written down as technically as possible. So yeah, that was the my goal. I wanted to nail down the design somehow so that the um, front end UI cannot miss a pixel or whatever. Fonts are not still supported. I need to work on that. And everything that you need for exporting a page should be there and will be, well, I don't know when. Unfortunately, it's only in my own free time. So whenever I grab some, I fix a bug here and there. And I think that's enough for today. Next week, I'm going to uh, show you how to use one of these pages, uh, export it, and how to put it in a front end so it's actual code. Uh, that repo is already made in a way that can be easily deployed, developed. Uh, you have some help with debugging and so on. We're gonna talk about it, but the reason why we're going with this is because in the end, if only Freenit is used and Freenit tools, then the development is the fastest, I think. At least I'm the quickest when I'm developing using Freenet. Uh, Thank you for watching. And if you really like what we do here, please, 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 we are trying to resurrect Tilda as a physical place, and we're trying to raise uh, money for our next flat so we can, once this crazy corona is over, we can move into a flat and give classes in person. All classes and lectures in Tilda Center are free, so we're doing it for the benefit of mankind. So help us, please. See you soon and stay well. Bye bye.